In the second time in India's history, we had a number 10 top scoring. After Javagal Srinath, it was Yuzvendra Chahal today. In the second time in the history of Cricbuzz Live, we've had a post show when we should have had a mid-innings show trying to assess where the team batting first, in this case India, were at the halfway stage. So all a little confusing, but I'm not sure if what our guests in the studio have to think about that.
I got this tweet from a guy just after our mid-inning show saying, you guys are going on and on. Are you sure you don't want to continue with the post-game show and just finish it off?
Almost could have.
You almost did. Look, they played 45 overs in the whole match. So it's one of those days when you wake up thinking, good, it was just a dream. It was a nightmare. It's over and done with.
Yeah, that's a confirmation of exactly how many overs have been played. We were complaining about New Zealand having not batted their 50 overs. Well, guess what? Again, they haven't batted their 50 overs. Except for once, they didn't need to, and they took really very little time in knocking off the 93 runs required for victory, pretty much thanks to Ross Taylor. Now, we were talking about the fact that with 3-0 to India, a lot of individual performances would be looked at. From India's side, it was disappointing because a lot of them didn't step up. From New Zealand's side, a lot of them didn't get a chance to step up. They haven't really managed to assess Jimmy Neesham. They haven't really managed to assess many of their bowlers in terms of what they could possibly do. So, in a sense, even though New Zealand will have won the game, they will have hoped for a little bit more time for those batsmen and bowlers.
India would have hoped for more time as well. I thought this was opportunity lost. I remember saying when 2 wickets were down, that it's a tough situation, but all tough situations are actually opportunities wearing different clothes. And so it was a great opportunity for Shubman Gill and for Ambati Rayudu and for Dinesh Karthik to say, look, we can play in this situation as well. So I think they'll be a little disappointed in that what this game has proven more than anything else is that the one factor that contributes more than anything else to India's limited over strength is how the top 3 bat. Everything else is built around how the top 3 bat. And the world will have known, as they knew in the Champions Trophy, as they knew in that one game in Sri Lanka and here, you get the first 3 out, then India are in trouble. And then, of course, it didn't matter how New Zealand batted because they were going to get those anyway, but they hit 10 fours and 5 sixes in 14 overs.
And for Chahal, 2.2 overs for 32 runs. Yes, it was not a hopeless situation, but it was a situation where every little thing you do, you could actually show yourself, because for Kane Williamson, he'd be disappointed not sticking around there, and Martin Guptill as well. I mean, for him, I think from a New Zealand perspective, they would have wanted him to get a 40 not out.
Well, it's amazing when you take the pressure off this game, isn't it? When you take the pressure off, suddenly your feet start to move, suddenly when you're in attacking mode, when you know that you have a target of 92, you know you are going to get there on these kind of surfaces for sure, because the damage was done by Trent Bolt. The game was done when the inning got over, and the way Guptill also started, it was just a sign of that okay, this is the chance to see what kind of tactics can work against different bowlers, and Chahal was one of the victims of that today. So Ross Taylor was certainly looking to dominate and create that kind of impact on Chahal, so that next game when he comes on to bowl to him, your mindset as a bowler will be different, and you can't judge this game. You can't judge the performances of this game, particularly for Indian bowlers for sure, because the game was done and dusted in the first half itself.
But it makes a very valid point. Even when the game you think is over, there's still little skirmishes to be won, little battles to be won. And Ross Taylor going after Chahal was just a means of checking out. Let's see how Chahal responds if I do that. Yeah. So that was a little thing that Ross Taylor won, but he's the number 4 we want.
You keep saying that, and you were also asking Harsha about the possibility of this being a record. 212 balls to spare against India. It is a new record.
It is, isn't it? New Zealand set. The fastest India have lost a one-day international.
Fastest India have lost.
Yeah, because when India have batted second, there've been some.
Including the 54 all out?
Huge mark, 54 all out, the 130 for 3 in the first World Cup. There have been large margins of defeat. But batting first, I don't think India have ever lost in such little time.
But again, now looking ahead, because
they knew that Zach had a lunch appointment.
No, in fact, I was wondering that what happened on that 2002 tour against New Zealand, just before the World Cup, because there were short games. The game used to be over around this time only. We always often used to joke about the fact that by the time Indian fans and Indian viewers are awake and watching and starting to follow the game used to be over. It used to start earlier as well. But that's something. It reminded me of that today from this game, because the game finished so quickly. I mean, not even 50 overs been bowled in the game so far.
Similar conditions as well today. We didn't see that at Mount Maunganui or at Napier.
Well, the conditions today were far better than what what the 2002 wickets were.
You added the weather in those days to the surface that you had today, and that doesn't make it any easier. But looking ahead to the next two games, the next one game really, the whole talk about 3-0 down means for both New Zealand and India, it's about getting the squad right in terms of everyone getting a chance to try and perform or try and get into that World Cup squad. So
yes, I don't know what the situation with Shami is, whether they want to rest Shami a little bit more. We saw just a little bit of Khalil. As I said, you can't read too much because the batsmen are going after you, but he was bowling short. If Dhoni is fit, of course, Dhoni has to play. But I would still keep Shubman Gill in the side. He looked all right, Shubman Gill, he made 8-9 runs, but there's something about him. He looked all right. I'd really like to see Shubman Gill again, because he opens for Punjab. If he gets a really good game in, with KL Rahul struggling again today, as you said, he got a first ball duck again today. So maybe that third opener slot is open. I want to see a little bit more of Shubman Gill.
Also, from the bowler's perspective, we were expecting one of the Kulcha pairing to be rested today. They weren't. They both played. Jadeja still didn't get a game. So in the fifth game, do you reckon that maybe Kuldeep gets a rest and get Jadeja in?
I think both the wrist spinners will be playing. Is what my feeling is. Simply for the reason that lately in the last couple of series they've not been playing together again. So India has been trying to move away from that combination. Now they've been again creating that impact in the middle over. So you would want to continue with that, because now we are reaching that stage where the experimentation with regard to the combinations will be lesser and lesser. So one game to go. Shami, I feel would be rested for sure. He has been playing consistently. He's not missed many games. So that that will be taken into consideration by the management. Shubman Gill, again, I'm completely with Harsha on that. I think he's looked good, even though today's conditions were tough, and he doesn't have score to show it to people that he's right there. But he looked comfortable. Whatever he's played today, 20 deliveries on the up, played that drive. On a good track, it would have been probably 4. Played that bouncer also, which hit him on the head. He was actually early in the shot. So those are the good signs. Look that he can be creating that impact at this level. Just needs some more opportunities.
Also, from the point of view of looking at Khalil, yes, he didn't get enough overs to bowl. So does that mean you give him one more game? Because in Australia you had Siraj 1, Khalil 1.
Look, if the decision today to play Khalil over Siraj was because he's rated above, he's above in the pecking order. If that was the reason they played him and not Siraj, then that should be the reason he plays the next game.
Right. Because if they're 50-50, then you say Siraj gets the next game?
I don't know. Look, how many did he bowl today? He bowled 3 overs for 19. I don't know if you can draw conclusions from that. That's for the on-field captain to decide. Whether the on-field captain saw something there that said he doesn't belong. If that is what Rohit Sharma thinks, because you see from the body language, you see from the approach, there's something you can't see on television, something you can see on the ground. So if Rohit Sharma thinks that, yeah, ये ठीक नहीं है, then you play Siraj, otherwise you play Khalil again. That would be my view. But I would definitely play Shubman Gill again.
Just to finish off with the game, unexpected lines. For once, there was going to be no arguments about the man of the match. A left-arm quick gets the man of the match. But overall, just to look at the figures there, 20 over 6 minutes, 8 for 47. He had support at the other end. Brilliantly as he bowled. There were 2 bowlers who bowled in tandem, and these figures really were responsible for 92 all out.
Well, he finished his quota of 10 overs as well in this 30 over game, that particular innings. Also with Trent Bolt, he has looked good right throughout the series. Today was the conditions also which worked in his favour. The ball was swinging nicely, and when you take those wickets and ball has not been beaten enough by the top order batsman, that stays new as well. So that's why it was swinging for a bit longer than normal, and the swing has always been there, and the lengths which he bowled was very important. He understood the fact that he has to keep thinking wickets. And the length also, when you see that pitch map, you'll see that more often than not he was hitting that fuller length. So when the conditions are like this, you err on the fuller side, and this is something which Khalil also has to understand quickly as possible, because that's the length which gets you wicket. When the conditions are helpful, you got to pitch the ball up. You've seen it with Bhuvneshwar. Bhuvneshwar, every time there is some help in the wicket, he'll make sure that he makes use of those conditions. And different tracks, you err on a different side. Like on a good track, you look to err on the shorter side than fuller. Like you don't mind being cut, because when you bowl the ball up on a flat track, it's a freebie. So that's something as a bowler you need to understand quickly. So on these kind of surfaces, you are on the fuller side. You've seen it with Grandov also, who supported Trent Bolt beautifully. Even though he didn't have the pace, but because he was getting that length up and giving the ball that opportunity to and the batsman to entice to get into a shot, which something proved rewardable.
Yeah, there's something about raw pace that makes you sit on the edge of your seat, but there's something about quality swing bowling that makes you just admire a little more. You're not sitting on the edge of your seat like when Shoaib Akhtar is running in to bowl, but there's a good swing bowler. He bowled a really good bouncer as well. He bowled 2 or 3, 10 overs, 52 dot balls. You get 50 dot balls in an innings, well, that's a T20, so you get about 50% dot balls. But he's bowled 52 out of 60 dot balls, which means they've only scored off him 8 times in 10 overs. It just tells you how accurate he was. And he bowls about 140. I mean, he's one of the leading bowlers in
and
the game.
those scoring shots, I mean, that ruined his figures, if you have to say it, were by Hardik Pandya.
3 boundaries, yeah.
3 boundaries in that 1 over. Otherwise, it would have been even more sensational figures.
I love watching him bowl. He runs in so fast. The only thing he does faster than running in is peak. I tried to do an interview with him. I said, Trent, is your answer finished? He said, yeah, I speak a bit quick. I said, no, you speak faster than Shoaib Akhtar bowls.
But just, the mystery that remains in this entire series is Saudi. Is he sort of in the Shami way, just we know you're there, we're going to rest you?
Zaheer would have bowled well on this track, right? It was good for him.
He would have, but he's coming off injury, isn't he?
And he's not had a good run in white ball cricket. So, yeah.
But he still very much remains in that 14. So if you have a look at the New Zealand 14, are they thinking that if he's part of our World Cup plans, not that we are saying that he won't be going to England, but needs to get a few matches under his belt, even if you're an experienced player like Tim Saudi. Would you get him in for the last game?
I think so. But I mean, they've left out Bracewell, they've left out Lockie Ferguson. So maybe one, unless they want to rest Trent Bolt for the last game. I don't know how much bowling Trent Bolt has done.
No, Trent Bolt would want to play for sure.
He'll want to play, correct.
He's the only bowler who's been impressive right throughout. Like New Zealand has tried different combinations and has not really worked. They've won the first match right now in this series. So I think they wouldn't want to change anything. They would want to build the confidence from this game moving forward into the T20 series as well.
Yep, so we've already seen, going back to #MyWorldCupSquad, we've heard from Zaheer Khan, we've heard from Harsha Bhogle. We're going to get Simon Dool in, not initially with his home squad, but let's see what Dooley has to think about his Indian 15 for England 2019.
My World Cup 15 for India, it picks itself. It's fairly simple, I think. Maybe one slightly contentious point, we'll get to that soon. Rohit Sharma and Shikhar Dhawan at the top. Virat Kohli at number 3. Ambati Rayudu, I think he's done enough at number 4 and he'll keep that spot there. Dhoni back in form in Australia. He'll keep the number 5 spot. Kedar Jadhav, who offers a little bit of that part-time spin, part-time bowling option and the finisher with the bat. He's definitely in there. Hardik Pandya back with a bang in New Zealand in that 3rd one-day international, so he stays in the side and he'll be a key component going in towards England. He's at number 7. The 2 spinners, Kuldeep Yadav, Yuzvendra Chahal, absolute hands down, they pick themselves. And then the 3 seamers, I'm going to go with 3 because I'm going to pick a little 12 here. Bhuvaneshwar Kumar, he's in the side. Jasprit Bumrah, the best white ball exponent in the world, and Mohammad Shami. Shami's put a little bit of pressure on Bhuvi, I think, heading into this World Cup because of his performances in New Zealand. So there's a 12 that's fairly simple to pick. Batting cover, you need some of that, so I'm going with KL Rahul at the top. He's only played 13 one-day internationals, got 100, got a couple of 50s. He can cover those top 3 positions if someone was to get injured. Dinesh Karthik, you need keeping cover. He's there for that, and he also provides that little middle order cover from the batting point of view if it is required. Now, the only contentious point in the Indian lineup it just may be that all-rounder spot. I'm going to go with Ravi Jadeja. I just think he can provide that spin bowling option if you want to drop either Kuldeep or Yuzvendra Chahal and play an extra spinner but give you some more batting ability. You can do that. You can bring Shami in as well for Bhuvi and maybe play Jadeja in some of those games just for that batting cover and a little bit of extra spin. It's a really nicely balanced squad, so I've got a top 11 and maybe then in your spare parts you've got a keeper, a genuine batsman in KL Rahul, a genuine all-rounder and a fast bowler. So it's pretty simple from an Indian point of view. That would be my World Cup 15.
Yeah, Simon Doull centre stage there in New Zealand. So
He's a very perceptive analyst. He's got a very good grasp of how to pick teams.
yeah, and you really, the
didn't get
way he puts it, very hard to argue with him.
No. Why am I saying that he's very good? You can't say that. It's the same side that I picked. Dooley's a good man.
Except for who? Umesh Yadav.
No, I said Umesh. Umesh not in my
Would be your
15.
16th.
Yeah.
If
Umesh
I
would
had
have been your
16,
16th.
my
Okay.
16.
Yeah.
I still think, given the number of matches in this World Cup, 9 matches, everybody plays everybody else. If I was ICC, I would have had a squad of 16. But they insist on 15, so 15 is what you have to
Yeah.
play with. If it was 16, my 16 was Umesh Yadav.
So again, there Rishabh Pant is not getting a look in as far as Dooley is concerned, and he does rate him pretty highly. So the fact that he left him
There are
out.
still 5 games to go.
Yeah, you know, the reason
6 games
is
to go.
he's not been picked for this. When you're not picked for a team so close to a World Cup, then you start to think maybe the selectors are not sure, maybe the selectors are thinking of something else. You start to wonder about things like those.
Well, at the moment, Rishabh Pant and KL Rahul are both playing together in Thiruvananthapuram, so both of them haven't made runs today. So interesting to see that if they push themselves into that Australia one-day series, which will be the key final components, the final 5 ODIs going into that World Cup. So I think
they're playing all the matches at the same venue in Trivandrum. So it's the 5th game that they're playing on the same venue. I don't know how many pitches there are on the square, but it's probably getting a bit tired. So.
it is.
Because you can see the scores are starting to drop.
Yep. So now time to focus on the New Zealand squad. And Harsha, you're up first with.
Why? Why am I always up? I'm not the expert. Zach is the expert.
No.
Yeah, there you go.
I'll give you the expert opinion on your score.
Ah, very
All right,
clear. Okay.
there you go.
I'll tell you all these people coming new to television and learning. Okay.
Simon Doull couldn't defend himself, so we went with his squad. Harsha agreed with him. I completely missed that. I was wondering why he was smiling and complimenting Simon Doull. Now we got the answer. Now let's get the other perspective. Dooley on India, Harsha Bhogle on the New Zealand 15.
Right, here we go. I think flat pitches in England. Guptill and Munro will both do all right. I put Tom Latham third on that list because I thought he's a reserve opener, given he opens in test matches. But clearly, as we saw today, they use Henry Nicholls as a reserve opener because I think they like Latham in the middle order. So it doesn't matter. They're still in the side. So Guptill, Munro, Latham, Williamson, Taylor, Nicholls. That's largely the team they've been playing. I've picked Neesham as a batsman in my side. And I still think that given how far New Zealand is from England, someone can always sort of pitch in as a second keeper. But Seifert is good enough to play at number 6, I think, recently for them. So he's my second keeper and reserve batsman. Colin de Grandhomme, Mitch Santner. So you've got the all-rounders in Neesham, de Grandhomme and Santner. Ish Sodhi is my second spinner. I'd not seen enough of Todd Astle, to be honest. And then I'd have Southey, Bolt and Ferguson. So I've got 3 proper seamers. Neesham or Grandhomme as the 4th seamer, Santner and Sodhi as the spinners. I don't know enough between Adam Milne and Matt Henry, really. So it's anybody for me.
You think New Zealand will take a leaf out of India's book and say, okay, let's just back 2 leggies because the leggy today looked
Todd
good.
Astle as well. Yeah, they might do that actually. One might pick 2 leggies.
Because the advantage always the New Zealand team has had is they have a lot of utility players.
Yeah.
So that's something which they can bank on and have 2 leggies plus Santner also plays.
Yeah. Could do that. Yeah.
And I think that the big question is, Colin Munro obviously is the obvious choice, but it's one of the questions that have been asked because every time he's been getting the starts but not converting them. But I guess you'll have to look at the conditions, as Harsha said. relatively better batting conditions in England, and you'd want to back
and
him.
if he doesn't score runs in the first 2 or 3 games, it's not like Shikhar. We were just talking off camera. If Shikhar doesn't score in the first 3 games in England, you still pick him in the 4th game because of his track record. If Munro doesn't do well in the first 2 or 3 games, you push Nichols up to open the batting, and Neesham plays as a batsman. So they've got the reserve strength. I think it's a team that will do well. The worse the conditions are, the better they'll probably do.
Probably. And also they'll have to decide between Munro and Grandom. So they are similar kind of players. They both are power hitters. Will look to play more shots. It's just about how you're going to use them. So Munro also can bowl a bit, and I don't think that any of the bowlers are going to do well unless the conditions are going to suit them. So if you have to give example of today's match, if the conditions are these kind of conditions, and Grandom has had a good day out there because the conditions helped him, so will Munro. Munro also, given him these kind of conditions, will probably play a similar kind of role. So I think for the squad balance, they can choose between Grandom and Munro, whoever they feel should be the right kind of choice. But I think picking 2 leggies will be a wise kind of move for them to go to World Cup.
Makes a very valid point. You look at say an Australia, you look at a Pakistan who've got a really good seam attack. If there are batting conditions, you still expect a Shaheen Afridi, an Usman Shinwari, a Hassan Ali, or a Mohammad Amir to bowl well. You still expect a Bhuvi and a Bumrah and a Shami to bowl well. In good batting conditions, there's Trent Bolt there. That's it. And even Bolt tends to go for runs at the end in good batting surfaces. He can go for runs at the end. That's why I said slightly difficult conditions, New Zealand will probably become a better side.
Yeah.
Now, just a quick comment from Rohit Sharma. He's admitted it's one of India's worst batting performances in a long time, but the follow-up question obviously was, how do you bat in swinging conditions? And the simple answer was that you have to absorb the pressure, which is what India didn't do enough of throughout the course of that.
Could they have misread the situation and gone hard early on, and by the time they realized it's not that kind of track, they're already 2-3 down?
That's what I was saying. It's a kind of trend which is building in the modern day cricket, modern day white ball cricket, because you're always chasing that big number, isn't it? So that's something which puts the pressure on team batting first, and that's why you'll see that a lot of teams, a lot of batting teams are happy to have that comfort level of saying, okay, we'll score the chase down, knowing what the target is, because they get that time to assess the conditions as well. Like these kind of conditions, you got to quickly assess and change those gears, isn't it? This was not. This was not a highway, this was those off trail ride, where you have to really maneuver your vehicle cautiously and
if you have an adaptable vehicle, quickly change the tires.
Exactly. So this is a 4x4 kind of track.
By the way, a lot of people write in and saying, why are you guys checking your messages while the messages are? No, we're not checking our messages. We are on the Cricbuzz app, just checking out little things on the score
because everything's updated. It's not just about scores, statistics, numbers, archives, history, but even every word that's been said by the 2 captains and the man of the match, so we can keep bringing it to you, and of course we can keep assessing it ourselves. Now, Harsha and Simon Dool had the identical India squads. We've seen one New Zealand squad. Do you reckon?
Look, if Dool is the analyst, I know he is. If he's a good, serious analyst, if he wants the world to take him seriously, we know what New Zealand team he'll pick.
All right.
I'll bow to his. He's
Simon
much more.
Dool, over to you.
More.
Well, my World Cup 15 for New Zealand, I think they've put themselves into a bit of a corner, New Zealand have, and they're having to stick now with that top order that hasn't been so good in the series against India. So we're going to have to stick with Munro and Guptill at the top, Williamson, Taylor, Nichols and Latham. They picked themselves through the middle. Tom Latham's going to be have a big part to play, I think, in this World Cup, playing that spin through the middle. New Zealand haven't been able to get off to starts. If they do that, then Williamson, Taylor, Nichols and Latham can really reap rewards through the middle, but they're going to need Munro back in form. From then on, it's James Neesham will be back in the side, and Mitchell Santner. They provide the all-round ability. Neesham with a bit of seam, Santner with plenty of spin and a little bit of ability with the bat as well. And then Sodhi, Bolt and Southey. Now that's not my starting 11, but they are the first 11 I'm going to put down on the paper. The 4 spare parts, Lockie Ferguson, he's got to be in the side. He'll probably play more than he won't play in place of Tim Southey, but he's there for pace. My all-rounder backup, that'll be Doug Bracewell for my liking. I like Bracewell, like what he's brought to this New Zealand side. He's really worked hard on his batting. He can work a little bit more with the ball, but he'll provide that all-round backup if required. Colin Munro, well, I think he needs replacing, so I'm going to have Will Young. I'm going to have Will Young as my batting backup, and I think he could open the batting, or he could bat 3, 4, 5, depending on what New Zealand want him to do. And then Tim Seifert, he's my wicketkeeper backup. Latham will do the job for the most part, but if New Zealand do need to make a change, or perhaps if they need a little bit of explosive power at the top of the order, Seifert can do that job as well. So I don't know whether New Zealand are as settled as I'd like them moving forward to this World Cup. There's some improvements required. You know, I've left the likes of Colin de Grandhomme out, I've left Matt Henry out, but I just think that other guys, to me, look a better fit for this World Cup side. I don't think New Zealand will do that. I don't think they'll pick the team that I've picked, the selectors, but that's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see those guys on the side. So you start at the top, Guptill, Munro, Williamson, Taylor, Nichols, Latham, top 6, Neesham at 7, Santner at 8, Sodhi at 9, Ferguson at 10 and Bolt at 11. That's probably my starting 11, and then your backups, obviously Southey, I mentioned Will Young, of course, Bracewell and Seifert.
Don't often see Simon Doull on the back foot. After he's given his 15 so confidently, he still feels he doesn't think the selectors will pick that. Now, either it means he's not confident of his own abilities, or he thinks there's something wrong with that selection process.
Or he thinks the selectors are not much good.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter. But I'm disappointed with Dooley.
Which part are you disappointed with? The fact that he stuck with Doug Bracewell? I mean, Will Young, of course, is an untried.
Nah, there's two differences.
Differences.
I didn't know much about Will Young, so I'll go with him.
Fair call.
But I had Colin de Grandhomme because I thought there was enough batting, and instead of Bracewell, I had either of Milne or Henry. But
yeah. But I think that's a big call from him to leave out Colin de Grandhomme. I mean, of course, this was
because of the fact that they Munro and him are the similar kind of players. So if you
and Neesham as
you
well,
have
and
Neesham
there as well, yeah.
So I think Neesham scored over Grandhomme in terms of bowling. You know, so you would expect how my squad is going to perform in good conditions. So bowling conditions are not normal to get in white ball cricket. You know, you often have batting friendly conditions. So you want your bowlers to step up to that. And then clearly, I don't feel, even though Grandhomme has had a good day today, I don't think that he's a bowler who is going to give you overs on a good batting track.
Also, you think they're two similar players, Grandhomme and Neesham? It's like having two Hardik Pandyas in our team?
I think he's actually, instead of Colin de Grandhomme, he's got Doug Bracewell in that side, because you talked about Bracewell's batting having improved, and maybe there's more bowling from
You're saying
Bracewell.
Bracewell's bowling is better than Grandhomme's bowling? Not on the evidence of this series.
Correct, but overall, Bracewell is probably the better bowler than Grandhomme, and Grandhomme's explosive power. But they think that Neesham will give that, and if required, Bracewell can bat at 8. So I think that's why he's gone in for Bracewell.
Well, one thing's for sure, we're going to hang on to that clip of Simon Doull's and see when New Zealand's final squad is actually announced, how many differences there are, given that he feels the selectors might go differently. Maybe he feels selectors are very pro Colin de Grandhomme. We'll find out.
And what if they pick the same side? What if the selectors pick the same side? We'll have to ask Dooley, so what do you make of the selectors now?
Well, I'm sure selectors also keep an eye out on who's saying what everywhere.
I hope not, but I think they do. I hope not, but I think they do. Ideally, selectors should not be listening to what commentators are saying about the side, because the commentators don't have to pick a side. The easiest side to pick is a side you don't have to pick. So I hope, I'm sure the selectors have in mind, okay, I respect Zach, I respect Ashish, I respect SMG, I respect these guys. Okay, let me see what they have to say. But they can't keep...
you wouldn't be influenced, but you certainly want to listen to them. It's almost like a trial where you've got a jury and someone says something and the jury is told you need to discount that. I've pretty much never figured that out because you've listened to it. How do you discount that?
I haven't figured out juries anyway. When you've got a jury sitting in judgment on someone's life, but that's okay. Yeah.
And also what management feels about it, because that on the ground feedback is very vital, and how the team is looking at it. Because they are the ones going to be planning how to go about the playing 11, how to decide on the strategies and what exactly goes there. So if you give the team management a player who they don't have faith in, or they are not sure about the role, it's not really going to work. So selectors and the management has to work hand in hand simply for this reason. So it'll be vital to see How, after this series, also with regard to New Zealand cricket and the team management, what kind of feedback goes to the selector? I think the selector's job is more tricky than what meets the eye.
I think selector should pick 14 and let the captain pick the 15th. Because sometimes the captain just has confidence in a certain player. We saw that when Ricky Ponting was asked to pick Andrew Simons, he changed a couple of matches at the World Cup. I think the captain just sometimes has a lot of confidence in one player. And the captain should be allowed that luxury because he's taking the team out onto the ground.
A pretty good similar parallel to, since you said captain choose, in the Ryder Cup, you have a very similar selection process. You have a lot of the players who are picked basically based on the points that they've accumulated, but then you have a captain's pick. Is a Tiger Woods coming out of retirement going to be someone that you're going to just chuck in there? So captain's pick is important.
Yeah, you pick the team, but ye player, I have a lot of faith in this player. I want him in the squad. He contributes in many ways, and I think the captain should be allowed that once. So the selectors sit together, and if there's a disagreement, the selectors pick a side. But I think the selector should pick 14 and tell the captain, look, here's one spot. Is there a player that you are very happy having the side? Yeah, we'll give you the option.
Yeah, there's a talking point. When all of you send in your 15s at hashtag #MyWorldCupSquad, make sure you give us your opinion on whether you think this could be the X factor. Can the captain be given one selection? I think it's an excellent point to make and something to ponder for all of us. Well, we may not like the idea of juries, but we know when it comes to posing questions, there are no juries. There's just a judge, and he goes by the name of Joy. And he poses us these tough ones, although he's started to go a little easy on us.
He's getting old. Joy is getting old.
Yeah, he's
Joy is becoming an uncle. Joy is becoming old, and he's asking very benevolent questions to his nephews.
Absolutely, Joy. I hope you are tuned in right now to Cricbuzz Live, and for the last game, at least, with 3-1 up, it's going to make it as tough as possible. So we won't have an answer before we finish our sentence. Well, let's see what you had for us today. This was Joy Factor for the 4th ODI. Lots and lots of hints in there. It was a good question, but I think maybe one hint too many. Part-time fisherman, full-time human being, play the odd game of cricket. It's always good to have a sense of humor on a Twitter handle. He has a Mumbai connection, and I think the moment you started talking about cricket records in Hamilton, you were thinking about a handful of people and one man. Oh yeah, he announced himself with that fastest T20 international century in 2012 in 45 balls. And the only Mumbai connection he had was not a very happy connection, because he came to the Mumbai Indians and he left very quickly from the Mumbai Indians as well. So,
well, the good news is I just Googled part-time fisherman, full-time human. It didn't throw up Richard Levy, which is good.
yeah, you don't want it to be Googled as well.
Yeah.
Maybe he's taken up another profession, just like he gave up hitting hard balls, at least in India.
Listen, he got that 145 balls. Where did he get it? Was it a picture at Hamilton?
Hamilton,
right?
yeah.
At
That's
Hamilton.
why the connect.
They said that there were days when they had to push the square leg boundary further because it was coming inside the 30-yard circle. It was that close. It was just, they called, I think it was the first time I heard the expression postage stamp ground. So he was just hitting boundaries for fun over there.
Yeah, there have been a few. I remember a few years ago, or many years ago, 1992, when they played at Pukekura Park in New Plymouth, one of the prettiest grounds in the world.
And the boundary was just there, right?
Zimbabwe. They had a 300-plus score, which was chased down, but everyone had to be reminded, don't just look at that scorecard. It was a 300 that was actually about a 250.
It's like some of the gymkhanas in Mumbai.
Oh.
You go to police gymkhana, into gymkhana, the boundary is there. I promise you, the boundary is just further than the studio. So
yeah, Zimbabwe batted first, made more than 300. Sri Lanka chased it down, and everyone thought, oh, that's a big total for them to chase down. Don't go by that. But yeah, that's it. That's where we stand right now. Oh, we have a winner. We have a winner. We keep forgetting about the winners. We had 2 in a row to start with, then we had a different winner, and I hope we have a brand new winner on this 4th occasion. Okay, so it's 2 plus 2.
2 plus 2.
2.
Don't they have a life? I mean, are they just sitting up there? You know, it's like Indians in England buying tickets for the World Cup. You know, their fingers like that. As soon as it goes on sale, like you're going on Amazon or Flipkart to buy mobiles, tuck, I got my ticket. So maybe they're just sitting there like that. Or maybe they're just that good.
Yeah, it's like your friend Sunan and Lele buying train tickets, 7 years in advance?
No,
I know, it's
2 months.
2 months.
Set the alarm for the day when the tickets go on sale and hit them, yeah.
Yeah, well, there it is.
But well done.
So we've had 2 wins for Sharath, 2 wins for
Shwet.
2 wins for Shwet. So the 5th ODI, apart from everything else it's going to throw up, come on, we need a tie-break winner because Joy, hopefully if he's listening, is going to set an absolute toughie for this one. So there we stand at 2-1 for 3-1 rather for India. Series done and dusted, but I don't think we were ever talking about the outcome of the series as far as this game is concerned. Same goes for the 5th match.
Absolutely, there's no doubt about it. Yes, we are talking about whitewash. That would have been a huge achievement, on Team Spar. But perhaps now, you have one more game to go. You need to regroup as quickly as possible. And looking at this game, one-off game, you can't really just ponder over this kind of game. The communicating points, as Rohit Sharma rightly said in the post-match presentation, is the fact that how to deal with this scenario if you have to face this scenario again. What kind of communication, how we can better from these kind of situation. It's something which is a important lesson from these kind of games, that a 220 score also can create that momentum going into bowling innings. That's something which is important. You have, and then you won't see the shots which Ross Taylor was probably playing. You put that much pressure and things change.
I was just looking at what he said in the post-match conference. He says there will be times when it swings and we need to deal with it. So when the ball is swinging, maybe just play it like a test match for a while. Let it.
Yep. Well, thank you for your thoughts, gentlemen. Zaheer Khan, importantly, you've got a lunch appointment.
Oh,
You're
yes.
going to make it
Yeah.
on time. Well done on that. But these gentlemen, apart from having early lunch, will have some homework to do because our hashtag My World Cup team continues here. And for the 5th One-Day International, we're going to be focusing on Pakistan and Bangladesh. We've brought you the Indian squad, we brought you the New Zealand squad, the two teams who are in focus, playing the one-day series right now. And of course, our neighbors, Pakistan and Bangladesh, are going to be next in focus. So all of you can start getting those squads as well, because you can match it to Harsha, you can match it to Zaheer Khan, and we'll of course get Simon Dool and Ajay Jadeja as well to try and bring their squads in. That's a very busy couple of days in store, and I'm sure a busy couple of days in store for India. No sightseeing really in Hamilton like we had in 2002. Just head over to Wellington and see if you can make it 4-1. New Zealand will be wanting to keep the momentum going. We'll see you soon.